All right, so 94, we're doing some matching. So a few things to take a look at. Problem C is the only one that has an amplitude that is not 1. So when I'm trying to match these up, I can check that out right away. Another thing that I can take a look at is problem D is the only one with a K value. So when I look at those two right away, since I'm doing matching, I can kind of take care of those right away. So number 3 is going to go with D because it's the only one that has a K value that is not 0. Then looking at amplitude, even though this looks like it goes up 2 lines, we need to make sure we check the scaling on that. Amplitude of 1, amplitude of 1, amplitude of 1. But here we have an amplitude of 2. So when we're looking at our amplitudes now, C has to be graph 5. That leaves now, if I get rid of those, that only leaves these other ones. Looking at these last couple of equations, B value of 2 and a B value of 2, but this one here has a B value of 1. So now I can look at B values, and again, the B value is your number of cycles in 2 pi. So if I look at graph 1, this distance here is 1 pi, because you can see that distance is 1 pi. And if I would shift that over to there, that is going to be a 1 pi. So if it does 1 cycle in 1 pi, that means it's going to do 2 cycles in 2 pi. The B value then on this one will be 2. For graph 2, you can see that is a distance of 2 pi. That has a B value of 1, which now makes a graph 2. And if we want to just quickly double check that, this has an H value of negative pi over 2, which isn't on this graph, but if we check out how this is coming down here, it has a pi over 2 right there. Every pi over 2, it has another point. So if the top here is at 0, then it's back at the midline at pi over 2. It's at the bottom at pi. Every pi over 2 is one of our 5 points that we would normally graph. So this one would be at a negative pi over 2. So now I'm down to these last ones, 1 and 4. And again, right here, that is a B value of 2. So now the difference between these is there's an H value here of pi over 8. There is no H value. So this one right here looks like it has an H value. This one right here, we could start it right there as our locator point. And if we check the graph, that is going to match up with 4. Sine of 2x. Graph 1, just to double check here, if that right there is pi, half of that is pi over 2, half of that is pi over 4, which means half of that is pi over 8. It starts on the midline going down. That is a negative sign. So E is graph number 1.